So I, of course, yeah, okay. Yeah, I know. Started group texting, I think, with
Yeah.
first day, woo! We're just supposed to be
Yeah.
breakfast number one. This one? We did it.
Woo woo!
We did it.
Did it.
Finished that hike off.
70 miles!
Hey, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm just gonna do a post-video informative video. Just to talk about the hike in general, Wind River Range, Wyoming. I had always wanted to go for the past few years. Unfortunately, there was a huge storm a few years ago that decimated the tree line area getting up to the alpine zone. So it was really impossible, and I had only found out when arriving. So I had to change my plans, and it all worked out for the best. Went over to nearby Yellowstone and Grand Tetons at the time, but finally made it back out this summer. Did this hike in the middle of August, which I had researched was pretty much a prime time to go, between less mosquitoes, not a lot of snow, and just great weather conditions, less probability of afternoon thunderstorms, which did not really work out, as I'll talk about later. But in general, the hike was super awesome, incredible. Definitely recommend it. Really beautiful area of the United States for sure, and it was spectacular. So if you're thinking of going, looking to go, I would definitely recommend it. Getting there, I live on the East Coast, so flew over from New York to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and then from Jackson, my buddy that lives in Montana drove down, picked me up, and then we headed right to Pinedale, which is basically the gateway to the Wind River range. Actually, the winds extend pretty far, so it really depends where in the winds you're looking to start. And we were looking to start at the Big Sandy Trailhead, which was super packed, very popular. You're driving for kind of a while on dirt road until you get to the trailhead, and it seems like no one's gonna really be there, just given how kind of barren it is getting up there. But crazy packed. Even some of the overflow area a little down ways from the trailhead was occupied. So just to let you know, you're not gonna be the only one. So once we arrived there, we grabbed our gear, organized it, and headed onto the trail. Fremont connecting up to the CDT going northbound, and then from there we took that for all the way up until Sandpoint Lake, and then from Sandpoint Lake we branched off to, I have it in my notes here, the Middle Fork Lake Trail, and we took that up a ways. And this is all pretty designated trail. It's very easy to see, well marked. And then we continued on that trail, and we thought we were on the correct path. I should have been checking my GPS a little bit more, but we ended up detouring unintentionally to the Fork Lake Spur Trail, which was definitely worth it. Super nice lake over there and really pretty. But then to avoid backtracking to get to, trail, we ended up bushwhacking across to what we thought was going to be back to the Middle Fork Lake Trail. And up until that point, it had been pretty well marked and visible, but bushwhacking over, and basically our GPS point sitting right on top of where the trail should be. I guess it's at that point, somewhere in that area, that it really just becomes what people like to say in the winds as like a choose your own adventure kind of trail. We just kind of ended up going through like a lot of brush, and at this point we're following cairns all the way up to Bumark Lake, which was our destination for the night 2. Bumark Lake, super incredible. I hadn't seen too many good photos of it online. Doing my research beforehand for the hike, I kind of like to get a lay of the land, looking at topographs and any type of other information I can get on landmarks and trail conditions, just so I'm already well informed while I'm on the trail, just to avoid any mishaps, and of course never wanting to get lost. So here we had an incredible view over the Middle Fork Basin, which was unexpected, and definitely, I think, probably the highlight of the trip, even almost over the Cirque, which was supposed to be the highlight, but looking back on it, I definitely think that was by far more a spectacular view. So if you're looking to get up and check that out, for sure I recommend it. Super incredible. I can't stress that enough. But we stayed here, and then from there we went up, and I don't really think that this is designated trail anymore because we were just following cairns. We went up over Kagavi Pass, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then it's just, I'm assuming this is a high route section of the winds because I thought it was trail since I designed the entire route on all trails, and it wasn't a designated preloaded map. So I kind of just drew out what we wanted to do to hit a certain mileage and however many number of days we wanted to be out there. And we were just following cairns for the next day and a half or so, which I had never really done to that degree, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking at first, but it ended up being fine. I definitely had to check the GPS far more frequently to make sure we were en route, because I could see how it would be very easy to get lost, and not every cairn pointed you in the right direction. So just have to be mindful of that and definitely check your map very frequently. And deeper into that section of the hike on day 3, our mileage significantly slowed to maybe a mile an hour, where you're really doing an incredible amount of route finding, and there is just no clear trail for the most part. I mean, there is and there isn't. You're like on it for a little bit and then it disappears, and then again it's just sort of, well, I think this is the direction to go in, and you're just doing that for a little while. And we were starting to get a little nervous because it was getting pretty dark, and with no trail in sight, definitely makes me a little uneasy to be hiking in the dark under those conditions. But luckily we made it to where we were supposed to make it, which on the map it's unnamed, so I don't know if there are years where that is totally dried up. I don't know how that's possible because it was an incredibly large lake, as you'll see in the video, as you saw in the video, but ended up being fine. We made it there okay. So I would definitely watch mileage if you're up out of designated trail zone. I would definitely keep it to a mile an hour just to be super safe. If you exceed that and you're faster, awesome. If you don't, you don't want to get yourself into a situation where you're camping not near any water sources, or just in locations that might make you uncomfortable. So anyway, from there we hiked over TP Pass, which didn't really have a climactic point. It was just this big massive open field essentially that just gradually inclined and then gradually declined, and you had some lakes up there, and then then you're going down a pretty steep cliff which had a nice trail. It was pretty visible and clear, and but you're still going kind of on and off a lot of times looking where to go, and because of that storm there were down trees, so you're diverting and going across. Definitely another slow day, and eventually we made it to Grave Lake, and this reconnects with Bears Ears Trail, I think it was. Yeah, Bears Ears Trail. And here again there's trail and signage, and this is where we saw people again, because the prior day and a half we saw no one, not another soul. And we fell in love with Graves Lake. Super pretty, very beautiful, and this nice little section of beach. And after hiking, I think that's day 4, after hiking that much, you know, it was nice to kind of take a dip in the water there. It was very cold but incredibly refreshing. So we had just made the decision to cut our mileage short that day and make it up a little bit later. So we camped there for the night on the beach, which was really nice. Unfortunately, the next day saw a sign that advised you not to do this. So just be cautious of that, that if you do that and you know that now, you're breaking the rules a little bit, but you know, it is what it is at this point. It was a really nice night. We took a good swim in the lake, as you saw, and yeah, it was just perfect. Incredible scene, beautiful mountains around you. So next day, I think that's day 5 then, we hiked out, continued on Bears Ears Trail, went up to Haley Pass Trail, climbed Haley Pass. That was a very pretty vista looking back, and then looking forward, just more lakes on the way down. Went down Haley Pass Trail and then reconnected to Shadow Lake Trail, which then took us up over Texas Pass to Lonesome Lake. You have the Cirque there. That view coming up over Texas Pass, going down towards the Cirque, was mind-blowingly incredible. And the video doesn't capture it justice. I even took some wide-angled photos. Nothing really captured that. Looking back on it, it was just an awe-inspiring kind of view, and it's just a massive face of rock that just circums the entire section that you're in, that entire valley. Yeah, then after that we camped there. Next day we hiked out over Jackass Pass using the North Fork Trail. And that connected to the Big Sandy Trail and took us back to the Fremont Trail, back to Big Sandy Trailhead, where you finished the hike. It was something like 70 miles, 12,000 plus feet of gain, which was broken up pretty nicely, I think, over the 6 days. And then, yeah, we drove back to Pinedale, grabbed a really nice dinner after stopping at the Big Sandy Lodge to grab some nice burgers, incredible burgers. I don't know if it was because we were so hungry at that point and fantasizing about food, having eaten like dehydrated meals and snack bars and dehydrated fruit and, you know, all that stuff you bring hiking, all that type of food, that we were just craving something super savory. So we got nice burgers, enjoyed that, chatted with some other people that had been hiking or about to do a hike. And then after that, headed to Pinedale, grabbed some good food, spent the night there. They have really good lodging options in Pinedale. And then we headed to Jackson the next day, where I flew back out to the East Coast. And yeah, that was pretty much the whole scope of that trip. Other general points to talk about: weather. Going into this, looking at the weather and the winds, it was basically what I expected. You know, we got rain at least once a day, and I think actually once a day. There's always a window between like 11 a.m. and I would say 4 p.m. where you just expect rain, and it's rain only for a short duration, maybe 1 to 3 hours. It wasn't very heavy. You know, I had an umbrella attachment to my Hyperlight, and that worked perfectly. The wind never really had it going sideways enough that it was getting me wet or anything like that. I had a rain shell just in case, but I actually didn't even need to use it ever. And other than that, a little chilly at night, but I had minimal insulation. I had a Sea to Summit 40-degree rated sleeping bag, and then I just kind of slept in my down gear and a hat, and I was fine at night. I was never overheating, and I wasn't too cold, so pretty perfect. And then during the day, very sunny, dry, and I was really comfortable in shorts, short sleeve shirt. Sometimes I would throw on a long sleeve shirt, but kept the shorts. That was pretty much that. Hopefully weather cooperates really nicely for you, but definitely expect anything. I had other gear packed in case conditions got way worse, you know, rain pants, you know, thicker gloves, and basically stuff to keep me covered if it dropped significantly or the rain really struck. So don't take those chances would be my recommendation. For bugs, that was another concern of mine for the winds. We really only had mosquitoes once we went in towards like the high route where things were a little bit more wet where we were camping. Significant amount of mosquitoes, but not so much so that it like destroyed the trip. If that's a thought in your mind, and it was for me before we went, I would just say forget about it because the winds are totally worth it. I got some bites. I did bring mosquito repellent in the form of lotion to put on, and that worked fine. You know, I didn't really, when we were eating and really resting and stopped, definitely at dusk, they're out, and just wore long pants and long sleeves, and it was fine. I had like a head net with me, but did not need to use it. It wasn't that bad. And definitely when we dropped to lower elevations on the route, they really weren't very present either. Didn't encounter any black flies, and yeah, that was pretty much it for bugs. And looking back on it, I barely have a memory of it, so it won't destroy your trip in the least, and all I have is the incredible memories from the hike. Wildlife, that was another one I wanted to mention. Didn't see a whole lot. Just at like dusk, encountered some moose a few times, but they were so spooked by the noise we were making while we were hiking that they took off running. They sounded like horses galloping away. That was pretty much it. Barely any signs of bears. We did not see any, that's for sure. And then not really a whole lot else, which is very weird to me considering how remote and wild the winds are. The wildlife was very minimal. So yeah, that's a little unfortunate because you kind of hope to see some cool stuff. But yeah, don't look forward to that, or if you see it, definitely count your blessings because in almost a week we barely saw anything. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Any other questions, you can definitely drop a comment below or do your own research. And I hope you really enjoy the winds, and I hope this helped you in any way, because I was definitely looking at videos like this or other information prior to doing my hike. So anyway, enjoy. Bye.